presentation for tech difficulties. So it's not promised that it will continue to run smoothly, so bear with us. My name is Madeline. I am the recruiting manager at Bob's Red Mill. I've been with Bob's for about 3 years now. As an HR department, we really, when we think of the employee experience, we kind of think of it in 4 different phases. So there's the attract, engage, and retain, and then depart. So the recruiting function is responsible for that attract. So if you kind of think of it as a timeline, events like this out in the community just to raise employer brand awareness and get our name out there. We understand maybe the first time someone learns about Bob's isn't necessarily the time that they're going to be applying, but we want to make sure that interest is out there and it's a positive experience. So from there, the recruitment cycle is all the way to about the 90-day mark. So some milestones in between that time period is going to be when they see that job posting that encourages them to apply, from the interview process. So that's going to be meeting with our recruiters for a screening, doing either in-person or virtual interviews with the hiring managers, and then providing feedback and extending offers. We also cover onboarding and then our orientation. In 2023, we totally revamped our orientation. We actually have recently been doing leadership training, and it's very funny to hear someone who was hired 20 years ago. They're like, oh, I didn't have a laptop for like, not 20, I guess 10 years ago. They're like, I didn't have a laptop for like a month. And on my first day, I was told I needed to go pick up some office supplies. But now it's a full 2-day experience where they learn about our mission, our values, the history of Bob's Red Mill. They also get a chance to do in-person safety demonstrations. So our safety team has created like a hands-on, it's called lockout tagout for locking the machines. And then we also do tours of our 3 locations. We'll get into a little bit more about our locations later. After that point, we also have a 30-day and 90-day check-in. So those are, to check to see, did you get your uniform? Do you have all the equipment that you need? But also, do you feel like you've been respected? How is your training going? And trying to catch it early. A lot of times you remember your first day on the job, you remember your first month on the job, but you're not going to remember your 2 years and 17 days. So really making sure that first 90 days we're hands-on, we're making sure that they are having the best employee experience that we can. This is obviously just a really quick snapshot of what the recruiting team does. Starting a new job, I'm sure all of you have started a new job before. It can be really stressful. You kind of feel like you're lost. So I'm really proud of the work that my team does to make sure that it's a positive experience, even if you're applying, but maybe you don't get it this time, that we still leave a great impression and you're still interested in Bob's Red Mill. And when you see the product in the store, you can think like, oh, I had a really great experience with that team. So I will, sorry, I thought there was a question. I will pass it over to Alyssa.
Hi, everyone. Thank you again all for coming and learning more about Bob's Red Mill. Hopefully we can answer some questions and just give you a little more insight into who we are as a company. My name is Alyssa and I'm one of the recruiters here at Bob's. I handle a lot of recruiting for our production positions, specifically our machine operators, milling, quality assurance, things of that nature, as well as working with IT to get some people in there and marketing as well. I also have the lovely opportunity to participate and help host our orientation that Madeline spoke about. It's a really, really great experience to just get to know all of our new hires that are coming in and really try and give them that smooth transition into a new job, because it can be very stressful. Our facility can be large, so being given a tour so you have an idea of where to go is always helpful. I know I get lost very easily, so having someone take me around on my first day was extremely helpful. So we try and pass that on and make sure everyone also has that smooth onboarding experience, so there's just really no questions and they don't feel lost in those first few days when they're just figuring out life again. And then I also do our check-ins as well, our 30 and 90 days. And so if you're someone that we end up hiring at some point in the future, you might meet with me and just see how things are going. Are you getting to know your coworkers? How is that process? What was training like? What can we do better? What are we doing really well that we can make sure we continue to do? And so that's just a big part of my job, is just engaging with our employees and making sure that they have everything they need and getting them set up with the things that they do need if they are missing anything. The other thing I do is set up things like this. And so kind of getting us out in the community and talking to more individuals about what it's like to work at Bob's. And so that's kind of a snapshot of everything that I do.
Yeah. All right. Oh, so some of you may already know, but this past Saturday, Bob did pass away very sadly. Bob was, I remember when I first, like, year or so when I started, and he was in his office every single day, walking the floor, playing the piano. So it's been a really tough week at Bob's. Bob founded the company alongside his wife, Charlie. He gave very generously to the community and also his employees. We take peace as a company knowing that he lived a very full life and his legacy will be remembered through our whole grain products. By establishing the ESOP, which we will go into a little bit more later, he ensured that his legacy would continue to live on with Bob's. I think it was his 80th. It was in 2020. I'm not going to do math in front of you all right now. But in 2020, we did become 100% employee owned, which was a huge accomplishment and something that Bob was incredibly proud of. The company is performing and growing thanks to the efforts of all of our employee owners. So we'll continue to honor that legacy moving forward in honor of Bob.
Well, we just wanted to first kind of give you guys a little bit of a history on who Bob's is. How did it start? Where did we come from? That sort of thing. So as Madeline mentioned, Bob and Charlie did found Bob's Red Mill, but really Bob's passion for wholesome foods really started longer than that ago. So really what it started out was Charlie had a desire to provide her family with wholesome foods. She really wanted to give her family something that was full of nutrition. It wasn't just kind of full of processed things. And so she started cooking with more wholesome ingredients. And in doing so, Bob really saw the difference that it made in his own body and how he felt. He felt more like active and everything. And so he really dug into it. And so Bob was an avid reader. He will just pick up a subject and then deep dive into it. And so he really deep dove into wholesome foods and what that really looked like. And one of the things that he came across as he was reading was a book called John Goff's Mill. It was about a man named John Goff who took his ancestral mill and and made flour kind of the old school way. So using really large milling stones to grind the wheat into flour as opposed to more modern techniques, which kind of introduce more chemicals and processes into making the flour. And he really fell in love with it. And so he was like, that sounds like something I want to do and be a part of. So in 1968, he and Charlie started their first mill called Moore's Flour Mill in California and started making flour that way. This mill is actually still in operation. When Bob and Charlie decided to retire, they gave it to their children to run. And so it's actually still in operation in California. It's a smaller mill, but it's still there and kicking. I looked it up not too long ago to make sure. And so they did that and they were like, okay, well, let's retire. And so they moved up here to Milwaukee. Unfortunately, Bob is not one to sit around idly. So he was driving around and saw this beautiful old mill and he was like, oh, that's kind of cool. And then he noticed it was for sale. So then he went to Charlie and was like, I mean, we don't want to be retired, right? Like that's boring. Who wants to sit around doing nothing all day long? So what they did is they talked about it and decided to jump back in and say, why not do it again? So in 1978, this time, 10 years after their first mill, they opened Bob's Red Mill. And from there, we've grown exponentially. So it's been over 45 years now, and they've inspired joy in millions of people around the globe with our wholesome foods. So I don't know about you, but I don't think that's my retirement plan. So that's kind of a brief history of Bob's. So now we wanted to take a look at kind of what drives us and why we make the foods that we do. Why do we go this whole?
This is the quickest way to clear out stuffed food.
After
choosing ingredients is a really important part of the cooking process, and one that I think a lot of folks don't think about enough. The name of our restaurant is Mei Mei, which means little sister in Mandarin Chinese. We serve what we call creating Chinese American food. The most foundational recipe for our dumplings is the hot water dough. It's so simple. It's hot water, flour, and a little bit of salt. And that's where you start as the basis for any creative idea that comes into your head. The quality of the ingredients in your dumplings is so important because it's just this one little perfect bite. You put all this love into it, you rolled it up tight, boiled it, steamed it, fried it. They're always so delicious. And when you use the best ingredients, that's how you get the best outcome.
We've done braised beef and blue cheese dumplings. We've done cranberry pork dumplings. We've done bacon, egg, and cheese dumplings. You name it, we've done it.
Making dumplings with your family or your friends is so great because it can all be personalized. Once you get the hang of it, it's almost meditative. You can make a bunch in a row, and it's sort of like folding origami or knitting or something like that, except then you can eat what you make, which makes it even better.
I choose between flavor and love. I would choose love because love is what translates into flavor.
At Mei Mei, we say that dumplings make the world go round because there's definitely something that connects all of us around just eating a delicious pocket of foods.
Well, now that I've all made you hungry for dumplings.
Yes.
Right? I'm ready for lunch. One thing that I just love about this, watching this video, and is that it's such a great reminder of what food does. It brings people together. It brings them together in joy and in sadness, in good times and bad times. It's that binder for us all. And that's one thing that we love about Bob's too, is just that idea that food does bring everyone together. And so, so that's kind of a big part of like why we do what we do. You know, our food goes across generations, across genders and races and ethnicities and cultural cooking. And it all brings us to this point, you know, where our purpose is to inspire joy with wholesome foods. We love food, and we love to cook, and we love being a part of that. And food just brings you into that sense of community with it. You know, the kitchen is the heart of the home for a reason. So that's what inspires us, and that's always our purpose, is to just continue to inspire joy with wholesome foods. Now just kind of some of our core values. Now that we've talked about, you know, where we came from and why we do what we do, how do we do what we do? And so these are our core values that we really take into heart with everything that we do. So they are respect, teamwork, accountability, and determination. They are actually in this order for a reason. This is like our roadmap for when we have an issue that we're trying to solve, a problem solve, just our daily working life. We go through these things: respect, teamwork, accountability, and determination. Why, you might wonder? Just as an example, so if you you made a mistake at work, and you had a coworker come up to you and they wanted to hold you accountable for that mistake to make sure you weren't going to do it again. And they just came up to you and were like, why are you making this mistake? What happened? That can feel a little aggressive. And so if we stop and we start with respect first, and we approach that person and say like, hey, I noticed this happened. Can you tell me more about it? That feels better. And you don't feel like you're being attacked for something, right? Then we can say, okay, well, let's work together to find a solution for that mistake, and let's fix that mistake together. And then we can then have a game plan in place for why we're not going to make that, or how we're not going to make that mistake again, and then hold each other accountable to what that resolution was that was come to. And then we can use determination to then not make that type of mistake again. So it's just a brief example of why we have these core values in this order and why it's important that they're in this order. If we just take one as is, it's fine, but we feel like there's a more respectful way to do things, and we want to make sure that everyone feels valued at Bob's and that their work is valued and that their feelings are also valued. And so how we approach everything is determined by this. So we're going to watch kind of a brief video on some of the benefits that we offer at Bob's. Kind of, why do you want to come work for us now? What perks? After another sure ad.
In order for somebody to come to work every day, they have to feel really secure in their life. And that's what Bob's benefit package is.
Career Bob is awesome. I did an interview, and the person that was interviewing me seen a lot of potential in my skill set and offered me a supervisor position. It means that they see potential in me and that they see me being around for the long term. It makes me feel valued as a person as well as an employee. And that's really awesome for a company to have your back like that.
It fills me with joy. When you see somebody become the person that they want to be, I mean, that's my whole job, to be a tool for them to get there. When I think about employees like Michael, who have been able to have their basic needs met through our benefits and feel that security, they are then able to become their best selves. And we're just a tool for them to use to be able to feel fulfilled in whatever that looks like. And we have this culture of employees who are dedicated not only to the company, but more importantly to themselves.
Let employees know, like, hey, we're going to take care of you. You work hard for us. And when you retire, you're going to have something to look forward to. And it's not just a job for me, it's a way of life for me. We work for a company that cares about us, so that makes us care about the product and the people that we serve.
So some of the benefits that we offer at Bob's, you know, we have your kind of standard medical, dental, vision. We also offer a 401k. We have paid holidays, as well as sick time and vacation time as well. Some of the other different types of benefits that we offer as well. We have dependent care. We have a Get Fit program and incentives. So if you like to go to the gym, you can get your monthly premiums, or what do you call it? Membership. Thank you. The word would not come to my head. You can get some of that reimbursed. We have other Get Fit incentives as well. We have alternative transportation incentives. So if you take a bus or a bike, or you carpool to work, that sort of a thing, we have those types of benefits. My personal favorite is you get a 25% discount at our retail store and restaurant, which is awesome. So you can stock up on your Bob's products and get a little lunch, which is super fun. And then we also offer tuition reimbursement as well. So if you're going to school for something that would further your career at Bob's, we will pay for part of that tuition. The other big thing that we offer at Bob's, which is not as common, is we have a employee stock ownership program, as well as monthly profit sharing. So an ESOP is what we call our employee stock ownership program. What that is basically, in a simplified version, it's a long-term investment where employees receive shares within our company based on their tenure and their position, and they would vest over a certain amount of time. So it's kind of a great option in addition to a 401k for a really good retirement plan. And it helps enable a lot of our employees to retire securely and retire at all, because I know in this economy, it can be very challenging. So that's kind of a basic rundown of our ESOP. Bob was really passionate about taking care of his employees. That was his number one concern at all times. So in 2010, he decided that we would become an ESOP, and we started out as a 33% employee-owned company. Then, as Madeline mentioned, in 2020, on Bob's birthday, we became 100% employee owned, which is super exciting. That's not very common even within the ESOP world. In Oregon, we have about 76 companies that are employee owned, so not very many. So it has a lot of benefits, but one thing that we want to show is we're going to play a little video about some of our employee owners talking about what the ESOP means and has done for them.
No ad this time.
Yes.
Most of us unfortunately don't really think about our financial future until we're really close to needing to think about our financial future. And I think that the financial security of an ESOP is such a huge relief financially for people, but also being part of an ESOP is really a unique situation. I feel like if you're a new employee coming here after you've settled into your position, you'll see a difference in people.
That we're always accountable for all the things we do at our job daily. It's it goes for people that work under me as well as me to make sure that they're being responsible for the company's money. And it's really our money because we're employee owned.
Me gusta mucho es que esta compañía ofrece el programa de empleado dueño, porque eso siento que soy dueña de la compañía aparte, y eso hace que yo quiera hacer mejor mi trabajo y también motivar a otros que trabajen y se queden aquí, y que es una compañía que tiene muy buenos beneficios, y eso es lo que me da orgullo que la compañía de Bob's Reynolds ofrece.
Knowing that I own part of the company and have shares in the company, the better we do as a company as a whole, the better we do personally, especially at the end of the month when we have the profit shares check that comes in. Makes me feel good knowing that I have a future secured when I'm of age to retire versus stressing out, like, what am I gonna do? I don't have a retirement plan. So just definitely a whole lot less stress.
ESOP has definitely changed my life, and it will help me have greater freedom in my retirement years that I wouldn't have had if I had worked for a company that didn't offer such a benefit.
Being an ESOP, we're just like we're one entity working together, from the CEO down to the janitorial crew, and all just a piece of the puzzle. The formula for success is pretty easy. Just show up for work hard, and this place will take care of you.
One of the things that we do to kind of have fun and celebrate the fact that we're an ESOP is we have a stock day celebration. And so what it is we rent out all of Oaks Park. The whole company shuts down all 3 of our facilities, and we all get together. We fly everyone in from sales that works all over the country, and we all come together and we have a really fun day together, and we celebrate. There's games, there's prizes, there's tons of stuff going on. And then the executive leadership team also announces what the new stock price is for that year. So it's a really just fun way for us to get together and celebrate the fact that we are employee owned. So that's just one of the fun things that we do. We have all sorts of events throughout the year too, so.
Whoops. Okay, so our current state, we pulled this last week, we have 730 employee owners. We have 2 starting on Monday, so 732. And we have a wide variety of functions, and I have a video that will show kind of the process of when we receive our product, you know, what process it goes through. Obviously, we also have some support functions that are more administrative, which I'll get into as well. Our 3 locations are all within a couple miles of each other. So we have our world headquarters, our world distribution center, and then our whole grain store and restaurant. The whole grain store is one of the only locations that sells all of our products. As a guess, how many products do you think Bob's Red Mill sells? 2,000. That's really high. A little lower. I love it. I'm back. Maybe
760.
I cheated, I looked at the website.
Okay. You were using your resources. So I will, and they also serve breakfast all day and lunch, and that incorporates our product. So we have pastries, bread. Obviously our product is used a lot for dietary restrictions. We have a very thorough testing and quality assurance, which will also show in this next video. Okay, and then as I mentioned, that's just a snapshot of what the product goes through once it arrives from our suppliers. In the background, we have our administrative staff, so accounting, finance, supply chain, marketing, HR, and we're all, majority of us are over at headquarters, just down the road.
So some of our most common positions that you will see posted are going to be these three. So I'll go over each of them a little bit and then talk about a couple other positions that we generally might have open. So we have a machine operator, our miller, and our warehouse. So machine operator are going to be working a packaging line. You kind of saw it in the video that was just played with all of the product getting packaged. Anywhere from 1 to 4 people might run a line depending on its complexity. You saw the oat cup ones, that one is about a 2 or 3 person process just because there's a lot can go wrong with that type of machine. And so what we look for with someone that's going to be a machine operator is being able to lift 30 to 40 pounds pretty regularly. It's shown in a couple of the videos, it showed our product that gets sold to Costco. It's such a unique product that has to be displayed so uniquely because of Costco. So stuff like that has to be packaged by hand or boxed by hand. And so just being able to lift a lot for long periods of time. Standing for long periods of time, ability to work independently and as a team. As I mentioned, you might be working a line by yourself or you might be working with a team. So it's going to really depend on the day and where you're working. So being able to kind of go back and forth and be able to communicate effectively when you're with your team, but also have that drive to be able to work independently is great. And then ability to balance multiple tasks at once. There can be a lot going on the line, you know, making sure it has the bags, the machine is actually filling the product and not dropping it onto the floor. Doing quality assurance checks, making sure there's no metals in the product, weight checks, that sort of thing. So there's always a lot to do and a lot to focus on. Our milling positions. So what the milling department does is it receives our product from our vendors and then it makes it into our final product before it gets sent over to our packaging department. So this position is going to be a lot more physical, and lifting anywhere from 40 to 50 pounds regularly. We have to tote all of the product that we receive. So it's a lot of like transporting and lifting, tearing bags, opening, that sort of thing, as well as doing all of our mixes. So making our brownie mix, making our pancake mix, that sort of thing. You get that insider information and see what all goes into those things. And then as well as doing the actual milling, where you'll use the big milling stones to make our actual flour and cornmeal, things like that. It all gets ground in-house at our facility. Forklift experience is preferred. You can see in these images, these are 5,000 pound totes. I don't know of anyone in our facility that could lift one of those by hand. So they use forklifts regularly as a part of the job. It's preferred. It isn't required by any means. Just that willingness to learn is going to be what's super important with that one. Experience in a production environment is always nice to have. But again, we're looking really for willingness to learn. If you can work as a team and you want to learn a new skill, that is totally fine. And then being self-motivated and having a lot of attention to detail. You are following a recipe that has to be very exact. It's 922.47 pounds of flour and 25.9 pounds of cocoa powder, whatever. So you do have to have that attention to detail and make sure that you're kind of focused on all those things. And then lastly, our warehouse. There's two sides to our warehouse. There's receiving, where we receive raw product and everything comes in there. And then there's the distribution side of it as well. So lots of different options there. That one, forklift experience is required just because you're sitting on a forklift all day or you're standing on one. And so it is definitely a big part of that position. So coming in with that prior knowledge is extremely helpful. Having warehouse or order selector experience is also preferred. Again, we will train a lot. And so if you have that good attitude, you can work with the team. They are very team focused over at our warehouse. They have to depend on each other and that they're doing their jobs correctly and in the right order. So then when your day is done, the next team that comes in knows exactly where you left off. And so if you have that over some sort of warehouse or order selector experience, that's fine. We love to have that good attitude. That's kind of our big thing that we really pull from. Is we hear time and time again how welcoming Bob's is and how nice everyone is. Everyone's so willing to answer questions that any new person might have or just anyone might have. So we always want to make sure that that is what we're promoting. So if you have that good attitude, we'll train a lot. A star candidate for really any of our positions is going to be someone that demonstrates respect with their coworkers and their supervisors. Someone who values teamwork and working together so that we can move forward in accomplishing our company goals and just getting more of Bob's products out there in the community. And then we want someone who just has that attention to detail and just pride in their work and wants that job well done at the end. Other positions that we also have available right now would be within our quality assurance department. We have some cleanout technician positions available, which is a really fun one. You help out with cleanouts of all of our machines. So it's kind of like playing Tetris on like a really big scale where you have to like pull it all apart, clean it, and then put it all back together. So if you like puzzles, that's a great place for you. We also have a lot of maintenance roles available as well. And then Madeline will talk about some internal.
So what I find really neat about Bob's is the desire and manager's commitment to providing career development and encouraging exploration within the company. So many of our positions, specifically maintenance and most of our packaging, which are our machine operators, leadership positions, are only posted internally. I know maintenance is hot commodity at Bob's. When we open up a position, a lot of internal interest. And when discussing with the maintenance leadership, they say no one off the street is going to be able to understand our machines quite like a machine operator. Our machines are very specifically built for Bob's Red Mill. So having that experience is really valuable. Also, hiring internally, obviously you already know this person's going to be a proven performer if they've been here 2-3 years. They have that track record. Also, they understand our processes and machinery, but also to encourage that growth. So kind of going back to the very beginning when we were talking about the employee life cycle, engage and retain, that's where the majority of an employee's life cycle with the company is going to be. It can be anywhere from 2 years to 27 plus. So being able to provide that opportunity for growth, we see a more invested interest. We recently implemented an informational interview program, which I'm really proud of. Specifically, we tried it out with our supply chain department. A lot of our production employees are interested in learning about more of the administrative function. So through tuition reimbursement that Alyssa mentioned, but also on the job training. So recently we opened a more entry-level supply chain role, and we had a lot of internal interest. Managers try to always do a full interview with any internal candidates to, again, promote the interest and encourage employees to explore other options. But if someone doesn't meet the qualifications, what we've started to push for is what we call an informational interview. So I let the candidate know, based on the job description, you might not have 7 years of accounting experience, but let's sit down with the director, 15 minutes. They can tell you a little bit more about their department, about the role, about what skills they look for. Then we're building that connection between the employee and the director that they may have never met in their day-to-day. So recently, like I mentioned, we did it with supply chain, and it was just an introduction. Again, having an employee meet the manager, learn if that department's even something they might be interested in. I know when I was exploring new jobs, I was like, oh, I would love to do this. And after an interview, I'm like, oh, never mind. Like, this is not my jam. And so by doing these 15 minutes, it's a quick snapshot into your day. We then had a project come up. There was a leave of absence, and the manager said, like, I just need someone for 3 weeks that can help with, filing, checking the department inbox. And we were able, they remembered, hey, I met with so-and-so. Would they be willing to help out? So that employee's manager allowed them like a 3-week break from their department. And again, they got that experience that if they were to apply out for an external company, they may have not gotten. So that has been something I'm very proud of. I love to see the progression of employees now that I've been here a little longer. Seeing people I hired like within my first 6 months, and then seeing how they've progressed and being able to be a part of those informational interviews, the resume coaching, it's very, very fulfilling. Another program we offer is career ladder advancement. So for our machine operators, they're in our packaging department. There is a machine operator 1, 2, 3. Then there's a production lead and production supervisor. So usually biannually, we do a career ladder advancement kind of program. But essentially, we send out managers, here's a list of your level 1s, your level 2s, and then they're able to look at their performance. We do performance discussions quarterly now, and then decide who will be leveling up to the next career ladder. So Alyssa mentioned that our oatmeal cups, those are usually only a level 3. I know specifically my favorite is the brown sugar maple, if anyone's had it, but that's the hardest one to make because if the maple is wrong, it's like a tiny drop. So people get that advancement where they're moving from maybe bulk bags of our 5-pound flour up to the oatmeal cups. Again, just more development, and then hopefully moving up into leadership.
Cool. Now that we've got you riveted and so interested in working at Bob's, how do you apply? And what does that process look like? So you can scan this QR code here and it will take you straight to our website where it will list all of our current openings. From there, you would apply for a position that sounds of interest to you. And then one of our recruiters will look at all of the resumes we receive. If we decide to move forward with you, someone will give you a call and set up a phone interview. They're about 20 to 30 minutes, and we just have a chance to talk, ask you some questions, and then you have an opportunity to ask any questions that you might have about the position, and just to really make sure that you understand what you're getting yourself into. We try and not trick anyone and have you walk on the job and be like, this was not what I thought it was. So we try and avoid that and make sure we're really transparent about what the position is and how it functions. From there, some of our positions would require an on-site interview. So we would move to schedule that and bring you in where you would meet with one of the hiring managers for that department. They'll show you around a little bit, show you the machinery. You can get an idea of what the position might entail and they'll ask you some further questions. From there, if you were selected, we would send an offer letter via email. You would sign it, and then we would move forward with our onboarding process. That process can take anywhere from 4 or 5 days to a couple of weeks. We do a background check and a drug screening for everyone, and so sometimes results just take a while to come back. So once all of that is complete and you have all of your paperwork done, we would bring you in for your orientation, which again is a 2-day experience. It's Monday and Tuesday. You get to know the company a little bit more, go on tours of all of our facilities. We go over to the whole grain store for lunch on the first day. You get a huge tour of that facility and then participate in a food demo. So you get to see our product in action and then get a little goodie to take home, which is always exciting, as well as usually a little something else. They always have a little treat to send home with you as well. We never want you to leave empty-handed. And then the next day was when you would do all of your hands-on safety trainings. It's pretty cool what all they do. They have a lot that they go in over and everything. And so you really get your hands on those things, on the equipment, so then you know what you're doing and are better prepared for when you do start. And then you get a little goodie bag to take home. And we end our day by going over and hanging out at the distribution center where you get to see all of the product that goes out across the whole world. It's very exciting. So that's kind of our entire interview through onboarding process.
A funny story about making the product. I was in leadership training. We were talking about hiring, and we were asking the leaders, like, tell us about your hiring experience, you know, from when you applied to your first week. And like I said at the very beginning, if you've been at Bob's longer than about 2 years, your onboarding and orientation experience is kind of the wild, wild west. I know I sat and watched forklift operating videos for about 4 hours. So at least I know a lot about forklifts. But our director of IT, he joined a little over a year ago. And he said, you know, on that first day, they made brownies. So he brought some brownies home, and he has 2 young daughters. And then on day 2, you know, he goes to work, and he said his daughters went to his wife and they said, Mom, like, how long does it take to make brownies? And his wife was like, I mean, like 45 minutes. Why? Like, gosh, Dad's been gone a really long time. My dog makes brownies, right? And he's like, it's the more complicated. I thought that was really cute. And just like fun how his experience in making it more engaging kind of made it fun for his daughters too. But that's all we have. Again, thank you so much for joining us and learning a little bit more about Bob. It's really an honor to have this much interest. We have plenty of time, so we're happy to answer questions, or we'll also stick around after if you want to talk to us one-on-one. Yes.
I did some research, and apparently you're in Japan now. Are you in other countries?
We're in 70 countries.
Well, that,
so yes,
Wikipedia needs to get themselves updated.
Yes, so we're in every continent aside from Antarctica.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
But there is openings, right?
In Antarctica. Yeah,
I mean, if you want to be here, yeah, go for it.
Already been there, but yeah.
The informational interviews you said, was that only for when you do internal postings, or that for people in the public too?
So those are only for internal. During, I mean, as the recruiting team, that probably would be more of the informational piece if someone's more or interested in just learning. But with those managers, just based on the bandwidth, they're only for internal candidates.
Okay. And then you had mentioned specifically for the manufacturing, but you also mentioned that there's like the restaurant and all that. Obviously, I can go to the website and see what's open. But is there just so much more of a demand for the production side than there is the restaurant, or what's going on with that?
Yeah, so for our packaging is our largest department, and we have 47 people plus leads and supervisors per shift, and we have 4 shifts. So packaging is about a 200-person department, whereas our restaurant and retail is going to be closer to like 30 to 40.
Yeah.
Our restaurant and retail, majority of those positions are going to be part-time, which is a great way to get your foot in the door, but also nice. Summer is typically our busiest time for the restaurant and retail, so we hire a lot of people coming home from school and things of that nature.
I'm sorry, one more question.
Yeah.
Some of the other questions. As far as it comes to like janitorial, custodial kind of duties, is that something that's already taking care of the people working already in manufacturing, or is that, or do you get like an outside company to do that for you?
So we do have a third party
Okay.
that does janitorial. However, we have our quality assurance. They're going to be more clean out, or the clean out techs.
Yeah.
They're more hands-on with the machines versus like mopping and like any restroom stuff like that.
Do you know the name of the outside, the third party?
Oh, we just
Interstate.
Interstate? Okay, thank you.
We have a couple, also just back to your whole grain store question. We do have a couple of openings there right now. Mostly they are retail associates.
Oh, okay, that's cool. That's good to know.
Do the part-time positions have access to the benefits that you talked about earlier?
Not the full slew of benefits, but some of them.
So question kind of similar to the one about the informational interview. I heard you mention OJT. Now, is that just for internal people, or you offer an OJT? Is that?
So that's something that we've explored. Right now, we don't offer it externally.
Okay.
It's kind of few and far between. It's usually covering leaves, and we do use internal, or we do partner with temporary agencies as well, to cover those smaller assignments, or shorter length assignments, I should say.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Yes, I want to find out about your IT department. How would somebody apply for that? So they're on your regular website or through your
So that would be on our website. All of our active job postings that are going to be open for external candidates, you'll find on our website.
Okay, great. And I'm sorry about Bob. That's
Thank you. Yeah, it's been a tough week. Yesterday was his birthday. He would have been 95. So we had a kind of like Bob's remembrance. So we had cookies, and people wrote notes of like interactions or memories they had with Bob that we're compiling for his family.
What do you like to play on the piano?
Yeah,
anything.
So the HR office is downstairs with production, and you would just faintly hear it because the piano was outside of the break rooms, and you'd walk out and there he was in the afternoon playing for everyone. But he was definitely a character, but definitely a light, and he had so much energy and just really lit up a room. I'm very lucky that I was able to meet him briefly, but I know a lot of our employees had known him 15, 20 years. We have retirement parties where the whole company is invited. We have treats, and so many people credit Bob, either their first job in the United States was because they knew Bob, and Bob offered them an opportunity, just knowing them through the community. And people would always say, like, I don't think I could have retired unless we had the ESOP, unless Bob gave me this opportunity. So he'll definitely be missed, and he made a really big impact.
So part of your hiring process, you said you do criminal background checks. Is there anything, I mean, can you just have no criminal background, or what type of things? Just mostly felonies, or? that you eliminate?
Yeah, so it's on a case-by-case basis.
Case by case.
So it depends on the role and the responsibilities of the role, but it also depends on, you know, the length of time since the conviction, and then also the severity of the conviction. So we don't have any blanket, like, we won't accept this,
Okay.
except felony person-to-person crimes. We won't accept that, but most of it's case by case. We actually had the pleasure of meeting with Doug a couple months ago and learning a little bit more about.
Yeah, a couple of my people working there.
Yeah. Great referrals. Thank you, Doug.
Yeah. So I can answer that question too, that they'll look at everything, but it's gonna be basically case by case and that's kind of it's new for you guys. And so it's been pretty rewarding. Like I said, I got a couple people working on it right now, and they absolutely, yeah. So